911, the address of your emergency. Okay, and the phone number you're calling from. Tell me exactly what's happened.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help. And he's said he just came from a neighbor's house, and we know there's been problems at this neighbor's house. He's emaciated, he's got tape around his legs, he's hungry, and he's thirsty.
Okay.
If you're like me, your feed has been filled with content on what's been going on with Ruby Franke and the 8 passengers family. As a mental health professional, I thought it might be helpful to highlight some of the dynamics that are problematic in this family and how they can impact our mental health. For those who don't know, Ruby Franke and her family, collectively known on YouTube as 8 Passengers, have been a prominent presence in the world of family vlogging. Last week, Ruby and her business partner, Jodi Hildebrandt, were arrested after Ruby's 12-year-old son climbed out of a window and ran to a neighbor's house asking for food and water. He had duct tape around his ankles and wrists and was severely malnourished with deep lacerations from being tied up. Police found Ruby's 10-year-old daughter in a similar condition within the home, and Ruby has been formally charged with 6 counts of felony child abuse.
Influencer and mom Ruby Franke in court over 6 felony counts of aggravated child abuse.
Miss Franke, can you hear me?
Yes.
The mom of 6 remaining on a no bail hold. The judge transferring Franke's case to the judge of her business partner, Jodi Hildebrandt, who also appeared in court.
Are you Jodi Nan Hildebrandt?
Yes.
The two were arrested after Franke's 12-year-old son climbed out of a window in Jodi Hildebrandt's home and showed up at a neighbor's house pleading for help. That neighbor calling 911, describing the boy as emaciated.
He has duct tape around each ankle. There's sores around them.
Police also finding his sister, who they say was also malnourished, at Hildebrandt's home. Franke was known for her parenting methods online.
So up until now, I was really hoping that keeping them home from school and wiping the floorboards would really bring pain.
Records show police responded to Franke's home more than a dozen times over the last few years, including reports of juvenile problems in 2018 and then welfare checks in 2022. Police telling ABC News a judge denied a search warrant to go into their home. A school resource officer attempting twice to talk to the children, once unsuccessfully at school and again later at home.
The dynamics we have possibly seen for years in this family are not just indicators that something else might have been going on or stepping stones to abuse. They could be each of these things in and of themselves considered psychologically and emotionally neglectful or abusive. And what we see even before this most recent incident can significantly impact the mental health of someone growing up in this home. That's the tipping point of this particular story when authorities stepped in and got involved finally. But it's not a specific sign that things are finally bad enough. The underlying dynamics themselves are bad already. They're just often harder to prosecute.
It's very concerning when we hear that there were this many people that sounded the alarm that there might have been something happening at this home. So there will definitely be some inquiry into why it is that none of these claims were substantiated at the time.
While some instances of abuse are easier to prosecute and prove, controlling and or neglectful dynamics within a home are just as damaging and abusive. I want to highlight some of the dynamics that we have seen in the 8 Passengers family, outside of the more newsworthy moments like them being found in such a condition. Here are 5 problematic family dynamics and why they're damaging to our mental health. First, an overemphasis on perfection. The family appeared to strive for an image of perfection, portraying an idealized version of family life. And this can put immense pressure on family members to maintain this facade.
I'm only going to say it one more time, and then you're going to lose the privilege to eat dinner.
When perfection becomes the norm, it can create a constant sense of pressure to meet these unattainable ideals. This can lead to chronic stress and feelings of inadequacy.
My bedroom was taken away for 7 months, and then you give it back a couple weeks ago.
I don't think our viewers know that.
You've been sleeping on a beanbag.
I've been sleeping on a beanbag since October, and they gave my room back 2 weeks ago.
An obsession with perfection can also lead to inauthentic behavior. We can feel compelled to hide our true selves or emotions in order to maintain the image of perfection, which can strain genuine connections and hinder emotional honesty. Mistakes are often seen as failures rather than opportunities for growth and learning. This can discourage risk-taking and experimentation, which are essential for personal development. The constant pursuit of perfection can also contribute to heightened stress and anxiety levels for family members. This stress can manifest physically and emotionally, leading to a range of health issues and emotional challenges.
If you think it's funny, then that was 7 months ago. Maybe you need longer without a bedroom.
It was not funny.
For children growing up in a perfectionistic family, the pressure to be perfect can have long-lasting effects on self-esteem and mental health. It may contribute to anxiety disorders, depression, and a fear of failure that can persist into adulthood. Second is a lack of privacy and boundaries. There are some people who consider any filming of an underage child, even if they're your kid, to be unethical. But when I look through the content on 8 Passengers, it is clear that nothing is off limit for the cameras, even when their children explicitly request to be off camera.
Can you not film it? So I just
She just got rejected.
She has no idea.
Furthermore, there's footage of Ruby directly saying that privacy is not a right that children have and that they don't get to have boundaries.
Do children have privacy? In fact, your job as a mother is to constantly be scrutinizing her, to constantly be judging her choices. If you begin to trust your daughter, you're going to go blind to all of the distortions in her life. And now she's not safe. I have 4 walls in my bedroom, and that gives me a place of privacy. I have 4 walls in the bathroom. That gives privacy. When my child begins using those 4 walls to do things that are deceptive, they lose the privilege of privacy. Why? Because they're not concerned about privacy. That is the last thing they're concerned about. They're just trying to hold that word over your head. They're trying to hold you hostage, saying, you need to give me privacy. You need to honor my boundaries. You need to honor my feelings. You don't care about me. What else? You're invading my space. Those are my personal feelings. No. In this home, you don't get personal space because this is my space because I'm the parent. If you want your own personal space, you'll need to get your own space. This is mine. And as long as you're living in my home, it is my job to know everything about you. You don't get to sneak. You don't get to hide. You don't get to have secrets. Not in my house. Do you see how loving that is? A great rule of thumb that in my house, there is no such thing as privacy. You're expected to be humble about it and not carry a chip on your shoulder about it. That's your responsibility as a child.
Of course, there are situations where a parent may need to intrude for safety or well-being reasons, especially with younger children. However, respecting a child's need for privacy as they grow and develop is crucial for their healthy emotional and psychological development. In cases where a parent consistently invades a child's privacy without valid reasons, it can be considered emotionally abusive and have lasting effects on the child's mental health and well-being. Children who experience a lack of privacy may develop trust issues in their relationships, both within and outside of the family. They may struggle to open up and form healthy attachments due to the fear that their boundaries are going to be consistently violated.
But what you guys didn't know was Chad didn't get any room. He didn't get anything. He was sleeping on the floor in the family room.
You're like a man. Oh no, Mom, no, 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 no. Chad.
The constant invasion of privacy can lead to low self-esteem. Children can internalize the idea that their thoughts and feelings, they're not valuable, which can hinder their self-worth. A lack of privacy can also contribute to a child's inability to establish healthy personal boundaries with others. They may struggle to assert themselves in various relationships, potentially leading to unhealthy or even harmful relationships in the future. Third, controlling and authoritative behavior. Some viewers noted what they perceived as a significant power imbalance between the parents and the children. It appeared that the parents held the ultimate authority, and dissenting opinions or actions from their children were often met with discipline or disapproval.
You're gonna pass on the sucker?
I've had enough brownie for a lifetime. I really don't think I need one.
Once you hit 99 pounds, you don't need any suckers anymore. You're too old, you're too big.
I just had a lot of brownie.
Trying to keep children in line by threatening them and controlling them is incredibly unhealthy. Some of the tactics of this that we've seen are things like threatening to hurt something important to a child or other emotionally manipulative behavior. We see Ruby crying when her child wants to go and play with her friends, and also using emotion to try to motivate them in school.
Abby, we took the phone away from Abby in November. And you may never get the phone back.
Probably not.
And in this next clip, we see Ruby threaten to hurt her daughter's toy. This might seem funny to some parents, but it is an explicit example of coercive control, and it has a significant and damaging impact on children. You can even just see how her daughter reacts to this.
If you cut one more thing in my house, I'm going to take the scissors, look at me, and I'm going to cut its head off.
Grandma will be so mad.
So what are you going to do?
Are you going to cut anything else? No.
You promise? Look at Mama.
Here's another example. Even when talking about the potential of a child having an eating disorder, this somehow becomes about the mom, Ruby. Listen to this clip and see if you can notice, number one, how this becomes about her, about Ruby, not the child, and two, how she tries to control her daughter.
She just knows she's getting a hit by not eating, and she's getting a hit by lying about it. And you are so easily fooled that you go along with it. So what you need to do is get big and say, no, I know exactly what's going on here. I will not be lied to. And then her world needs to get really, really small.
Did you hear it? The quote, "Your child is lying to you." And no, I won't be lied to. Somehow Ruby believes that this eating disorder is disrespectful to her or disrespectful to the mother who's asking this question. And the best way she says to treat this is to make their world incredibly small and to take away their friend group. These are classic behaviors and words that align with narcissism. People who are narcissistic will try to isolate us from other support so that we're more dependent on them. And it's incredibly abusive. It's hard to overemphasize how damaging controlling dynamics in a family can be. If you want, I can do an entire video on this, so just let me know in those comments down below. Number 4, high levels of stress and tension. Certain blogs showcased a high level of stress and tension within the family, particularly around issues like homeschooling and parenting. These moments suggested a lack of effective communication and conflict resolution skills. And part of this is caused by these strange expectations that Ruby has of her children. For example, she expects her 3-year-old, to be able to wake herself up for preschool, like all on her own.
2 days ago was preschool. Eve slept in. She's notorious for sleeping in. And she woke up and I thought, you know what? I'm not going to wake her up because every time I wake her up, she gets super grumpy and upset and I have to literally drag her and get her dressed. And she's old enough to do that herself. And she missed preschool. She slept in and she woke up and she's like, I'm ready to go to preschool. I said, you know what? Preschool's over. You slept through it. I'm sorry. And she's like, what? And I said, you need to get up and get ready if you're going to go to preschool because I'm not going to drag you out of bed. And so she...
Aren't you still paying for it though?
Yeah, I still pay for it, but it's a lesson learned. And
she can't control when she wakes up.
Apparently she can.
No, because I woke her up.
But she got up.
Because I dragged her out.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, me and Abby woke her up. You dragged her out.
Here's another clip where Eve forgets to pack her own lunch, and her consequence is not to eat lunch. Her mom, Ruby, even says she hopes that no one shares food with her, saying hopefully no one gives in and gives her food. She's neglecting her child's basic needs as a way of punishing her for forgetting to pack a lunch. It's terrible and abusive, not to mention that Eve is very young at this point.
I just got a text message from Eve's teacher, and she said that Eve did not pack a lunch today, and can I bring a lunch over to the school? This happens quite often when you're raising children, because I know that her teacher is uncomfortable with her being hungry and not having a lunch. And it would ease her discomfort if I came to the school with a lunch. But I responded and just said, Eve is responsible for making her lunches in the morning, and she actually told me she did pack a lunch. So the natural outcome is she's just going to need to be hungry. And hopefully nobody gives her food and nobody steps in and gives her a lunch.
High levels of stress and tension within family dynamics can be considered abusive when they persistently and significantly harm the emotional, psychological, and physical well-being of family members. Verbal aggression, belittling, and manipulation can become common ways of communication, causing emotional harm.
Eve has been amazingly well behaved for being in town.
But you yelled at me.
Shh! The fact that I yell at my kids is a secret. We don't want our viewers to know. That never happens in my house. I never yell. Right, Eve? Tell them how Mommy never yells at you.
I'm super cute and it's hard to yell.
I must never tell a lie. I'm super cute. Oh my gosh, you're a doll.
Is it right?
Yes, you're right. You are super cute. And do I ever yell at you?
Sometimes.
Sometimes?
Yeah. It's hard to yell at me because I'm super cute. Right?
Family members may live in a constant fear of conflict or retribution, leading to a pervasive sense of anxiety and intimidation. This fear can, in and of itself, be emotionally traumatizing. It can push us into a state of hypervigilance and leave us exhausted. Chronic stress and tension can also contribute to mental health issues like anxiety, depression, and even PTSD, otherwise known as post-traumatic stress disorder, for any family members who endure it. And number 5, emotional neglect. The focus on having a picture-perfect life may have inadvertently neglected the emotional well-being of family members.
And there was a time, I'll find the photo. I had just had Russell, and Julie was just crying a lot and whiny, and one day I looked at her and I'm like, you just stink. She had like peed her pants or something, and it was just because she was being neglected, because I was totally paying attention to the new baby.
Viewers noticed the children appearing overwhelmed or anxious, which raised concerns about their emotional welfare. It also seems like there's a profound lack of attunement with normal behavior or pain, or acting out being moralized. When we revisit Ruby's perspective of eating disorders, look at this clip.
So your daughter is not losing control over her eating habits. Your daughter is choosing to be deceitful around her eating choices. And you're choosing to make this about the eating. I have news for you. This daughter does not have an eating problem. This daughter has an identity problem.
This produces an enormous amount of shame and is so misattuned to what the child might be experiencing. Ruby is not just misattuned to her children. She feels like it's loving to hold back the experience of attunement and validation. Not being cued into our children's experience can leave them feeling isolated and alone. It can also mean that when something bad happens or they feel hurt, they don't have anyone to go to and can internalize this pain. They can also start to believe that they are too much or too sensitive and find themselves people-pleasing later in life as a result. My goal with this video is not to pile on about the horrific things that have now been exposed in this family. My goal is to highlight the behaviors and patterns we might overlook that are significantly damaging in and of themselves. For anybody who's been following this, you know that CPS had been called numerous times to the home and nothing was done. And it's important that we stop overlooking these very damaging behaviors.